I always tell people to keep it simple because simpler is easier to remember. And really, that's what we're doing when we're branding. We're trying to get people to remember our logo. Simpler is better because it stands out more. And we want to stand out from the crowd. And those are all things we're trying to do when we're branding. We want people to know our brand, know our logo, and be able to recall it really, really quickly. When I get a new assignment, I usually get a lot of information along with it. So it's really my job to listen and see what seems to stand out as the most important thing. I try to strip down all of the non-essential things to its very simplest imagery. The crucial element is what I remember first. It stands out. So that gives me a clue of what I need to be focusing on to design the rest of the work. Ron Wayne designed Apple's original logo, which is a pen and ink drawing of Newton sitting under an apple tree. I instantly could see that that antique logo really wouldn't be appropriate for the Apple II. When I first met Steve, he came into the office and he had the prototype of his new Apple computer. It was very slick, it was very modern, it was going to be the first mass-produced computer for the home. When I designed the Apple logo, I wanted to make it friendly because computers up to that time were kind of off-putting. So I wanted to make it really clear that the name of this thing is Apple. The way I was able to make the Apple logo simple was just doing a very stylized silhouette shape of an apple. And I kept drawing apples until I got a shape that really, I thought, represented an apple. Designing a logo for Cruise, which is a Japanese gaming company, was a very different process than what I experienced with Apple. I met them in San Francisco. We sat around a table and discussed the project. The client, when I asked him what the name Cruise meant, he said he envisioned his company like a ship, and the ship was like a water planet. A very difficult problem because a water planet would look like a blue orb. And how does that differentiate from anything else? One of the things about water is fascinating if you slow it down and watch it drop, hit a surface. It explodes and it makes other droplets. And that action, that water action, was a way I thought we could make the water planet idea come to life. Tried a lot of different approaches and a lot of different logos and wound up with something that looked like a game in that it was three-dimensional. It looked like something you would see while you were playing a game. The fact that I hit on something that was dimensional, that looked like a game, was what really brought it home for me. Langone is an Italian cosmetic startup company. In designing the logo for Langone, we wound up with taking the initials Walter Langone. It's a W and an L. Since one of the things we wanted to portray with this product was luxury, as the imagery for the product that would represent a crown would look royal and look expensive, but not necessarily be expensive. Our IoT client has a unique web address. IoT means the Internet of Things. I wanted to design something that you could see was about things, because it's such a broad category. The things I represented as dots. Making each dot a different color represented a world of things. Those were the basic ideas that I used for IoT. Probably the IoT logo is one of the simpler things we've done. Just taking their letters and putting some graphics around it to represent the company. And it's a pattern that just sort of goes together. I think your eye looks at the primary colors, sees they're in a row, and can remember that, if nothing else. The thing I hope a young designer would take away from anything I say would be a couple of things. One, and the most important thing I think, is whatever you're doing, keep it simple. People have a tendency, especially young designers, to put everything they can into everything they work on. And usually it's too much. Simpler is better. And the other thing is get as much information as you possibly can about about the client or the product. Do as much research as you can about those things, and try to keep out of the way. A lot of times we have preconceptions about what work should be. And almost when we're listening to a client telling us what his company is, sometimes we can't hear it because we know what we want it to be. So I find that erasing anything, our preconceptions I have about the client or what they should be doing, helps me listen to them better. And I think listening is also as important as keeping it simple.